Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Hariraj Vijayakumar, who is the founder of NWORX, which is a B2B SaaS platform used by enterprises to improve the performance of their leaders and teams. Hi Hariraj, welcome to ELI.
Thanks, Priya. Hi, everyone. This is Hariraj, lead NWORX these days. Someone who has been a business executive and a chief learning officer in the corporate in the past, and someone who has been in the entrepreneurial journey for the last few years. Thanks for having me here, Priya.
Awesome. If you can give us a brief background about yourself in terms of how you started your career, where did you grow up, and any background prior to entrepreneurship?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, my background is quite checkered in that sense. I've tried my hand at a lot of different things over the maybe last 25 years.
Okay.
Really grew up in a small town in Kerala and did my BTech, came out, joined IT services industry in the late 90s, like many of the engineers at that point in time. Mm-hmm. Never really got back into the kind of engineering work that I actually got myself educated on. Mm-hmm. Started in tech, was a software engineer for the first few years, did multiple stacks from mainframe to Unix, those days really doing a lot of Solaris implementations and all that, and then moved into early Java, early enterprise Java. These were the early days of enterprise Java. So did that, did some architecting work, technology architecting work, and then moved on to consulting, both technology consulting and management consulting.
Okay.
Did that, tried my hand at that for some time. This was a lot of these years from 98 onwards, I spent in the US market. Mm-hmm. Kind of lived across a few different cities in US. Okay. Tried my hand at technology consulting, then business consulting. For example, worked with the integration of one of the leading newspapers from Europe into one of the top media houses in US at that point in time. After that, I moved into really sales and account management, really working with the customers, building out technology services business, growth year after year. That was really my first experience with building businesses, albeit in a smaller way, because you're still building only a part of the pie. Okay. So did that commercial side of the role for a few years. After that, moved into business operations, which is essentially the back-end operations of how do you deliver technology services in a global delivery model. Okay. Did that and then made a major shift in my career from running core business roles to what you can think of as human resources and learning roles, HR roles. So I moved into working in L&D, learning and development roles, and eventually I became the chief learning officer at Cognizant. Okay. So that was a big shift in terms of moving from business to these quote unquote HR roles. But a lot of my value system, what we needed to do, how to do things, came from early years in playing the core business roles, both in technology and later facing the clients. And did that, came back to India in 2014. And end of 2016, I jumped out of the corporate world and moved into the entrepreneurial world. That's a gist of what my background is. Yeah.
So interesting. Would love to know what made you to jump from a corporate career to entrepreneurship. What was the trigger? And having a very successful stint at different organizations, why would you try entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I think towards, to put a point in the timeline, I think it was probably 2000, 2012. By the time by the time 2012, 2013 came along, uh, there was a feeling that I had done enough and more in the corporate space. Was able to do quite a bit of things that I set out to do. And I figured that I need to figure a way to make some kind of an impact in the open market, where the potential is much bigger than working in any one company or any one enterprise. That was really the seed, if you will.
Okay.
And then I think in that 2014, 2015 time, it started becoming clear in terms of which area I wanted to work in. Really wanted to focus more on the space of human performance, productivity, development of professionals. That started becoming more and more of a prominent theme, and that kind of shifted me. So in one phrase, if you had to think about it, it's about how to make a non-linear impact with people.
Okay.
That was really the motivation.
Okay, so you were looking for the scale. Okay,
exactly, that's right.
So tell us how it started. How did you start NWORX? Did you start with a product initially, or how did you go about building a venture?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think almost you just think of it in 3 stages. Yeah, a stage before I started down the really set up a firm and came out, and so me and my co-founder had this discussion about, of all the things, World Happiness Report. I don't know whether you're familiar with it. It's one of those reports that come out every year. Right. So we were sitting down 2015 speaking about what's happening with the World Happiness Index, what are the factors being driven, and why are certain big nations and big population segments not moving up the scale. That conversation got ourselves into thinking about, okay, what can we do? Even if it is a very, very small needle movement on one of those factors, how do we actually affect some of those factors? Okay. Are there ways to affect certain levers on world happiness? So that was kind of the trigger point which allowed us to start thinking about, can we do development of professionals and managers and leaders at scale? Also, we wanted to think about that as a bootstrapping platform for us to think about how to impact education at scale. Okay. When I talk about education, I don't mean the classical edtech path, which is to work on newer solutions for the children, but we were thinking more in terms of how can we actually develop the faculty and the teachers who work with the children. So that was the first phase, and in terms of what kind of thinking we had when we were starting. Yeah. Phase 2 is us starting down that path. 2017 we started. Long story short, for the first 2.5 years, we ran it in a consulting-led business model. Okay. So we were working with multiple companies. We were delivering. So we were delivering certain solutions which helped them elevate their leaders and managers to the next level. Okay. But it was not driven by technology at all, right? It was not product-based. It was completely consulting-led. That was the phase 2, if you will. And towards the second half of 2019, it started striking us that, okay, we set out to do impact at scale. We are making an impact, but clearly this is not going to scale. Okay. And that's where we had to literally just say, at a business model level, we had to pivot. This is not a product pivot. This is literally at a business model level. You said, shut down consulting, get on with building out a product and productizing what we have been doing so far and create this impact at scale. So this were the kind of 3 stages, if you will. Yeah. We set out with certain aspirations, started down one business model, and then moved to a productized business model. Okay. Now that we understood what is the problem that you are solving, can you tell us about the product, how you are solving it? What is the different modules inside the product? Who are the stakeholders who interact with your product? And any other things you would like to talk about? Okay. So NWORX, you have to think of NWORX as a today as a business to business B2B platform, B2B technology platform.
Okay.
It's a platform built for human productivity. At its broadest sense, that's what we are looking at. Now, human productivity has elements of human performance, well-being, and excellence in a working environment. So we are very focused on functional productivity in a working environment. And that's the largest space. So the problem statement, the central problem statement that we are solving is really improving the functional productivity of a professional at work. Now, how are we doing that? What we have been doing is this is a domain that me and my co-founder Shwetal Shubhadeep, who is an expert in the leadership development and learning and development space, we have been working on for several years.
Okay.
So the hypothesis that we had, which we tested even during the consulting days, was that by working with professionals and leaders as they are trying to achieve some of their goals, we can help them develop and become better. Okay. So in a way, become the best version of themselves while trying to achieve stretch goals that they have set out for themselves or the company has set out for them. Okay. Yeah? So that is an insight that we carried into our product creation. Yeah. So that became the bedrock, if you will, for innovation and how we created our technology platform. So what the platform does is, for lack of a better word, think of it as a goal achievement platform. So there are products that help you to set goals. And then there are products that help you assess performance management products out there. Yeah. So I call the first one, the goal setting products, as the January product, because it becomes very active at the beginning of the year, January or April, right? In an Indian fiscal year, it might be April. Okay. And then the other product, which is the performance appraisal, performance management product, becomes very active in December. So I call it the December product. Okay. Think of NWORX as the February to November product. Okay. A product that allows an individual to take the goals that were set out and figure out how I can actually achieve those goals in a better way. So it offers digital interventions, digital tools that allows the person to break down what they need to do and how they need to do, build specific skills, work on specific things with the help of coaches who are integrated into the platform. Okay. So that they can actually achieve their goals in a better way. That's what NWORX does. This it can do with individuals who are literally at a first year in their career, who are individual contributors, or they can work with first-time managers, or it can work with middle management, or it can work with senior levels. Platform knows, depending on the level the person has, leadership level that they have, and the kind of role they play, whether they are a sales leader or a marketing leader or engineering leader, system essentially adapts and offers them a journey or an experience through the platform that allows them to improve their goal achievement. That's what the platform is all about.
Okay, awesome. So if I were to take an example, for example, I am a marketing manager. I'll set up a goal as in there is a product launch that is going to happen in December. So I'll list down individual items like doing PR, doing A, B, C, and probably there are business leaders out there who will help me learn those skills on the platform, and I'll be able to do it.
Absolutely, you got that right, Priya. So one thing to add there is, so let us say as part of it, you have to make a pitch. Yeah. So one aspect of it is to know how should I structure my pitch. That will automatically become available to you on NWORX as you're going through that journey, because you have picked up that goal, and pitch is an activity that you want to prepare for. Immediately it will give you, based on some of the best practices, what kind of a pitch framework can you use to prepare for it. Yeah. Once you prepare, a coach essentially gives you feedback saying, look, here are things that you can actually improve on. So, and certain areas, for example, like when it comes to pitch, it's not just about preparation, as you know, it's also about the skill. Okay. So someone actually works with you to improve your pitching skill. So soft skills that needs to get developed so that I can do my job or I can achieve my goal as a marketing manager, get to that December launch better, is worked on NWORX through those few weeks.
Okay. Now that we understood the problem and we understood the product, moving on to the next aspect, which is the business side of it. Tell us where we are in terms of product market fitment, where we are in terms of business. Have we launched our product? If launched, who is buying our product? Is it enterprises or small companies? And what is the ticket size? How many stakeholders are using it? What is the scale of operation right now?
Sure. That's a lot of questions, but let me take them one by one. So we went into beta in October 2020. Yeah. And it was a commercial beta. So me and Shwetal, my co-founder, both of us believe that unless someone is willing to pay for it, nothing is proven. Yeah. So October 2020, we went into commercial beta. We started with 2 clients. And by the way, the clients are always businesses. We are purely staying in the B2B space, not in the B2C space yet. So we started with 2 clients, 2 enterprise clients. In fact, one of them you will call it an enterprise, and another one was a unicorn, one of the successful startups in the Indian startup ecosystem. Yeah. Okay. So started with those 2 clients, took a lot of feedback, improved the product. So for example, we started the product as a mobile first product. Okay. It was available only on mobile in the beginning. Immediately we got feedback within a month. As the program got serious and people were engaging, they said, look, I need to do certain things on my laptop. I need to have it available across devices. So we had to obviously scramble, get the web version out. Yeah. Okay. So those kind of changes happened over the first 6 months. It was also in a weird way, right? It was also the winter time for a new product that was coming out. It was in the middle of the pandemic. There wasn't a whole lot of activity happening at the enterprise level. There was a lot of activity happening at a B2C level, but at a B2B level, many companies were being cautious with their spend. Yeah. So till about May, we didn't see a whole lot of traction. May of 2021. From May onwards, we started picking up traction and consistent uptick in the MRR since then. Yeah, it runs on a almost like a subscription or a per user model. Okay. For the enterprise. Enterprise is the buyer. They essentially buy it for a group of 15 or 20 leaders, or sometimes even 150, 200 leaders. So somewhere between our smallest cohort, if you will, or a group that we sold was, I think, for 5 leaders, three or 5 leaders, for a very, very small thing. We wanted to test out something and we said, okay, let's do this. And the largest one is about 2,000 plus. So the whole volume thing varies depending on whether we are working with large enterprises or startups in their growth stage. Okay. What are the other questions? I might be missing a few.
Would be curious to know where we are in terms of product market fitment. Are we well accepted now, and is it going viral or something like that? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so definitely not going viral. Yeah. Okay. So B2B, something going viral, I think takes time. That's at least that's my belief. Because each business really looks at solutions to their problems as a fairly unique proposition. So there is a sense of, okay, how should I make a purchase decision on a particular software? So classical enterprise sales tend to take time. Now that said, are we seeing rapid renewals with existing customers? We are, which is a good sign of product market fit. But I am a skeptic by nature. So I look at product market fit also as a bit of a continuum. So I would say we probably have the early signs and the early indications that the product is strong. Product for someone who has used it, do they want to continue to use it? we are getting ample evidence of it.
Okay.
But it's not going to be a product that is going to go viral and suddenly 100 enterprises come in and say, look, I heard about this product, let me pick it up. We are not definitely got there yet.
Gotcha. Moving on to the next side of the interview, tell us about the different challenges you have faced while building and growing this venture.
I think first challenge, if you have to think about it, is the how do we think about clarity and vision in terms of setting a direction and having a vision. Like what I said in the earlier, you start with a fairly vague idea about what you're setting out to do, and then quarter after quarter, year after year, you actually have better sense of what's working, what's the path to impact, then what's the path to impact at scale. So one challenge has been to be having to constantly revise the sense of direction, how you're going, and clarifying your path. Second is the challenge of constraints. This is something all entrepreneurs are very familiar with. How can you actually operate with a sense of ambition while being also mindful of the constraints? I think in the early stages, I would say we made some incorrect decisions or wrong decisions just because we couldn't balance these two things. Either we would get too conservative because of the constraints, or sometimes we would get too ambitious, not being mindful enough of the constraints. And when I say constraint, right, the primary constraint is that of the financials, the making sure you have enough runway to kind of survive and sustain the business. Where in each decision that you're making, you want to be as ambitious as possible, but at the same time, you have to be mindful of the constraints.
Okay. Can you tell us what drives you to be an entrepreneur? So you had a very long corporate career and you tried entrepreneurship also, and you learned that entrepreneurship is not easy. So what still drives you to stay in that course?
I think what drives me to stay in that course still is this passion for creating impact at scale. I feel there are not too many paths to it. You have to be an entrepreneur if you want to create impact at scale. If you want to support impact at scale, that's a different matter. You want to help others who are in that pursuit, that's a different matter. But if you want to try and do it yourself, this is the path. So you've got to give it everything until you come to a point where you're completely out of energy, out of fuel. And or you one day you wake up and say, oh, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. Yeah. Until then, I feel like there is nothing else to do. I mean, you've got to go down this path. There's nothing much to think about. So that's what drives me, Priya. Day after day, that's all there is to it.
Okay. How do you compare entrepreneurship with a job that you did for 20 years or so? How do you compare these two things? Or should I say these two lifestyles?
Okay, so two different things. I think lifestyle, I can tell you, it's far more comfortable if you're doing a job. So let's be very, very clear about it. I think for multiple reasons. Just also the very fact that however senior you are in an enterprise, you are doing a job. Let's say even if you are a CEO, a professional CEO of a large enterprise, you are still making decisions that don't have phenomenal consequence for yourself.
Okay.
Your decisions are not going to hurt you so much at a personal level. Whereas as an entrepreneur, every decision, there is a burden of the sky on you, so to say. Yeah. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's very, very different. Lifestyle standpoint, it's very different. But as an entrepreneur, you have a sense of freedom. You have a sense of autonomy that you will very rarely find. I was very fortunate. I was very blessed, so to say, to have a corporate career in which I could do anything and everything. Literally every 2 years, I could change my role. And I used to be surrounded by people who allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do, as long as we can meet the larger mandate of the organization. But even with that, when you are in an entrepreneurial space, everything is different. You have a sense of freedom, you have a sense of autonomy that you will never see in a job. You also have a sense of mission at a level of purity that you will not see in a job. Yeah. So I think in that sense, it's chalk and cheese. We can rationalize it in many ways, but I personally see it as two totally different things. That's not to say that jobs don't have value, right? I think they have phenomenal value. A lot of specialization in any profession happens in an enterprise, in jobs. So for us to create value, I also firmly believe that we have to go do some depth work. And we have to have the right environment and settings to do the depth work, which usually enterprises and jobs provide. Usually, being an entrepreneur is not the place where you can do a lot of depth work. Yeah. So there is pros and cons to both, but they are very different.
How would you define the term entrepreneur? What is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you?
Look, I'm not big on definitions. I think an entrepreneur is someone who is finding out a unique path to creating value, delivering on that value to whoever is your consumer, and monetizing it.
Okay.
So create value, deliver value, monetize value. Find a unique path, unique combination to do it. Anybody who is in pursuit of that in any setting is an entrepreneur.
Okay. My final question. What are the different lessons that you have learned while being an entrepreneur and while running a business that we can take away and apply to our ventures as well?
I don't know what are the lessons. Let me think about it, right? So I'll give you some of the things that I learned the hard way. One is typically when you're starting off, I got a lot of advice that you should at least have 18 months of financial runway.
Yeah.
I would say give yourself 3 years of runway mentally and financially if you're building a sustainable, meaningful business and not looking for a quick buck. That's one key lesson that I learned it the hard way. Second one is start with a focus on problem solution fit from day one. Okay. So really get very obsessed with problem solution fit. As much as possible, attempt to start with and clarity on the problem. Even if that takes time, make sure that you are working on the right problem. That gives you enough sense of growth. It matches your ambition for growth. That's another important thing that at least I learned the hard way. I think all the other elements that I spoke about, striking a balance in terms of your choices you make, the decisions you make when it comes to prudence or constraint, right? Prudence versus ambition. You got to make sure that there is a clear balance. I think if you play with these things, I think you kind of are in a good place as far as your entrepreneurial journey is concerned.
Okay. On this note, I think we are up with the time. Thanks for your time, Hariraj, and our best wishes for NWORX.
Thank you so much, Priya. This has been fantastic. Great meeting you and being part of this platform.
Thanks,
everyone.